Stride Audio Show.
Presented by Speak English with Us.
Quick question. When someone talks fast, do you catch the full meaning or just fragments?
Usually fragments. And then I nod like I've got the whole movie.
Exactly. And that's the trap. The person's already on sentence 2, and your brain's still parked at sentence 1.
Yep, I've smiled through a whole taxi ride and still missed the destination.
This is a B1 level episode perfect for intermediate learners. Beginners, you're welcome too.
And if fast English makes your mind go blank, this episode is for you.
We're talking about real life, a coworker walking past your desk, a server rattling off options, a landlord adding one more detail on the phone.
And somehow the important part is always the one your brain drops. The time, the number, the place, that tiny detail, gone.
You hear the words, but the meaning slips away because the pace takes over.
So today we're not chasing every word. We're training your brain to catch the gist first.
And there is one thing we discovered. Once you stop trying to understand everything, you start understanding more.
Which is annoyingly good news because your brain has been trying to do too much for too long.
Quick question, pick one. A, you hear a fast message and panic, or B, you hear it and catch the gist.
Just say A or B in your head right now. No pressure, no speech, no dramatic music.
Stay until the end for our word tour 5 expressions that will help you piece it together, pick up on details, lock in information, and run through a message without getting lost.
And later, we'll give you one tiny trick that makes fast conversations feel less like a race.
And I bet right now you're thinking about the last time someone said, "Sorry, can you hear me?" and you immediately got nervous.
Or the time you answered a question before the question was finished and regretted it instantly.
That feeling is exactly why this episode matters.
Let's slow the chaos down and make fast English feel usable.
Picture this. You're in a cafe, someone's explaining the order, the pickup time, and the side note at the same speed. And your face is calm, but your brain is doing cartwheels.
I know that scene. You're smiling, but inside you're thinking, wait, what just happened?
Then the cashier adds one tiny extra detail, and suddenly you're sweating, blinking, and pretending the menu is fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. I've frozen before. Like my ears were open, but the meaning was hiding.
That's why this episode isn't about hearing every word. It's about catching the gist first, then building the meaning step by step.
Right? Because fast English is messy, but your job isn't to catch every raindrop.
Let's use a real example. A colleague passes your desk and says, "Can you send the draft to Nina at 6 and use the back entrance if the front's closed?"
If you try to process every single word, you're already behind, but if you catch the gist, you know the task, the person, and the time.
Exactly. You don't need the full sentence first. You need the frame.
The frame is what saves you from that polite, empty nod that means absolutely nothing.
Been there. I've nodded so hard that I basically approved a plan I never understood.
That's brutal, and also very human.
Here's the first move. Listen for the task word. Send, meet, call, pay, wait, bring. Those words are your anchors.
So if someone says, bring the key, leave it at reception, and don't forget the code, you grab the action first.
Yes, and then your brain can fill in the rest with much less panic. This is where attention control helps.
Attention control? That sounds fancy, but is it just focus?
Pretty much. It means your brain chooses where to place attention instead of trying to hold everything at once.
So instead of chasing all the words, you guide your attention to the useful ones.
Exactly, and that matters because of working memory load, which is just the brain's temporary holding space.
So it's like a tiny table. If you put too many things on it, something falls off.
Perfect image. If the sentence is too fast, your working memory gets crowded and you lose the important bit.
That's why people understand more when they stop trying to translate every word in real time.
Let's make it concrete. If a friend says, "I'll meet you outside gate 4 at 7:20, unless it rains," you don't need to rebuild the whole sentence.
You catch the gist. Meet outside gate 4 at 7:20, maybe weather matters.
And then you piece it together. That's the second move.
Piece it together from small parts.
Exactly. You hear one chunk, then another chunk, and you connect them. Not word by word, chunk by chunk.
That sounds much less terrifying than fighting the whole sentence at once.
It really is. And here's the emotional part. When you miss one bit, you don't need to panic. You can still recover the message.
That's a relief because panic makes the next sentence even harder.
Let's practice. I'll say a fast line and you tell me the gist only. Ready? Please take the parcel to the side desk, not the front desk, and ask for Mara.
Okay, task is take the parcel, location is side desk, person is Mara.
Great. That's enough. You didn't decode every little word, but you caught the message.
That feels way more usable than trying to translate the entire thing.
And notice this. Fast speech often contains one or two small details that matter most. That's where pickup on comes in.
You mean noticing the tiny clue that changes everything?
Yes. Not the front desk is a detail you pick up on because it changes the plan.
So you're not listening for perfection. You're listening for the detail that shifts the meaning.
Exactly. And if you get that one detail, you're already ahead.
Which is nice because my old strategy was just hoping the sentence would slow down out of kindness.
Spoiler, it won't, but your brain can get smarter about where to listen.
So the real goal is not understand everything. It's understand enough to move.
Right. Enough to answer, enough to ask a follow-up, enough to stay in the conversation.
And that's where people start sounding calmer too.
Think about a landlord saying, "I'll come by Tuesday, but if I'm late, leave the key with the neighbor and text the code."
The key info is Tuesday, late neighbor, text the code. The rest can wait.
Beautiful. That's you catching the gist and piecing it together in real time.
And not collapsing under the pressure of every syllable. Nice upgrade.
And by the way, there's a phrase for this. It's called run through when you quickly check the message from start to finish. We'll break it down later.
And there's another phrase we'll love later too. Because once you hear it, you'll know exactly when you've got the message.
For now, remember, task first, detail second, panic last.
That order alone can change everything.
So here's the big question. If you stop chasing every word, aren't you risking a lot of missed information?
That sounds risky, because one missed detail can ruin the whole message.
I get that concern, but I don't buy the idea that every word has equal value.
Wait, you're saying some words just don't matter?
I'm saying the brain can't hold everything at once, so it has to prioritize.
But what if the one word you ignore is the one that changes the plan?
Then you listen for the words that matter most: tasks, numbers, places, and changes.
That sounds neat, but in real life, fast speakers don't give you a pause to sort anything out.
True, and that's why the skill is not perfect listening. It's selective listening.
Selective sounds suspiciously like guessing with confidence.
Not guessing, filtering. And yes, you can still catch the gist even when the details come fast.
I'm not convinced. If you miss half the sentence, how do you know you've understood anything useful?
Because understanding in real conversation means responding well enough to move forward. It doesn't mean building a perfect transcript in your head.
But what if the speaker asks you to confirm something sensitive like a time, a code, or an address?
Then you use a short confirmation. That's the lock-in move. You don't pretend. You check.
So, you're not hiding the gap. You're closing it out loud?
Exactly. So I should meet you at 6, right? Or you want the blue form, yes? That locks in the information.
That part I can accept, but I still think people should aim to hear more before they speak.
Of course, but aiming too high can make people freeze. They wait for total certainty and end up missing the moment.
That's fair, but I still think there's a danger in becoming too comfortable with partial listening.
There is a danger in perfectionism, too. If you try to catch every syllable, you can lose the thread entirely.
Okay, but how do you know when to stop listening and start replying?
When you've got the task, 1 or 2 key details, and a clear next step, that's enough to move.
But that assumes the message is simple. What if it's a chain of instructions?
Then you piece it together in sequence. First this, then that, then the final check. You don't store the whole mountain at once.
So chunking is part of it.
Yes, and that's where attention control becomes practical. You choose the anchor points instead of letting the sentence drag you everywhere.
Fine, but can you show me that in a real conversation, not just theory?
Absolutely. Let's do a quick role play. I'll be the speaker with the fast message, and you'll be the listener trying to keep up.
Okay, give me the chaos.
The meeting moved to Thursday, not Friday, and Mia wants the revised slide deck before lunch, plus the client prefers the side entrance.
Meeting Thursday. Revised slides. Client side entrance. I think.
Stop. That was good effort, but your answer sounded shaky because you tried to repeat everything at once.
Right. I felt myself losing the thread halfway through.
Better version 1, so the meeting's Thursday. And Mia wants the slides before lunch, right?
So the meeting's Thursday, and Mia wants the slides before lunch, right?
Better version 2, just to check, the client wants the side entrance.
Just to check, the client wants the side entrance?
Much better. Notice how both lines are short, clear, and useful.
That's a lot less heroic than my original version, but way more effective.
Exactly. In fast English, heroic listening is overrated. Clear listening wins.
But doesn't that make people lazy? Like they can just wait for the easy bits?
No, because you're still doing active work. You're identifying the task, spotting the detail, and locking in the facts.
So the brain isn't switching off. It's switching strategy.
That's the whole point. And when you hear a fast line like, "Don't use the front desk, ask for Omar and bring photo ID," you don't need every word to answer.
You need the action, the person, and the condition.
Exactly. And if you miss one bit, you can still say, "Sorry, just to check, you said Omar at the side desk, right?"
That sounds natural. It's honest, too.
And honesty reduces stress. You're not pretending to know, you're building the meaning in real time.
Okay, I can see the logic now.
Great, because your brain doesn't need a perfect ear. It needs a better route.
That line sounds annoyingly true.
And by the way, that's why we keep saying catch the gist, piece it together, pick up on, lock in, and run through. Those are the moves.
Not magic. Just a smarter way to listen.
If you're with us so far, you're already halfway to sounding calmer in real conversations.
And if this episode helped, stay with us, because the next part makes these phrases really click.
So far, we've said the goal isn't perfect hearing. It's smart hearing.
Right, catch the gist, then lock in the key detail.
And those 5 phrases kept showing up for a reason. They're the real tools.
Exactly. You've heard them in the story, so now we can break them open.
Next, we'll slow everything down and look at each one clearly.
This is where the whole episode clicks.
Okay, now the fun part. Let's go back to that messy fast English moment and pull the language out of it.
Yes, the part where your brain is sprinting and your face is pretending everything's fine.
When I hear a fast message, the first thing I want is the main idea, not every tiny word.
That's why catch the gist is so useful. It means understand the main idea, not every word.
Exactly. If someone says, the meeting moved to Thursday, not Friday, you don't need the whole speech.
You just need the gist, Thursday, not Friday.
And that tiny shift saves you from a very awkward calendar mistake.
I've made that mistake before. I showed up on the wrong day and acted surprised by my own bad memory.
That's painful, but perfect for this phrase.
So catch the gist as your first safety net, the broad meaning before the small details.
Then comes piece it together. That's when you hear parts of the message and connect them.
Like hearing Thursday, slides before lunch, and side entrance. And putting the puzzle together?
Yes, piece it together means understand something by connecting small parts.
So you're not waiting for a perfect sentence. You're building the meaning from pieces.
That matters in real life because people don't always speak in neat sentences. They talk in bursts, and you have to follow the trail.
A trail sounds right. Fast English can feel like breadcrumbs flying at your face.
Not glamorous, but accurate. Now, sometimes there's one little detail that changes everything.
That's where pickup on comes in, right?
Exactly. Pick up on means notice or understand a small detail.
So if someone says, don't use the front desk, you pick up on the not the front desk part.
Yes, because that small detail changes the whole plan.
Which is helpful because ignoring tiny details is how I end up at the wrong entrance looking confused.
You and a lot of other humans, honestly.
And if the detail is important, you don't just hear it. You keep it.
That leads to lock in. It means make sure you have the correct information.
So if you say, you want me to meet you at 6, right? You're locking it in.
Exactly. You're checking before the information floats away.
I like that because it sounds calm, not needy.
And that calm check is what helps you stop pretending and start confirming.
So lock in is the move that turns I think into I know.
Perfect. Now there's one more phrase that fits those quick, messy moments.
Run through, right?
Yes, run through means explain or check something quickly from start to finish.
Like, can you run through the plan or let me run through the instructions?
Right, and that's really useful before a task starts.
It's the verbal version of opening the box and checking if all the pieces are there.
Nice image. And all 5 phrases work together. First you catch the gist, then piece it together, then pick up on the detail, lock in the facts, and run through the plan if needed.
That sequence feels much less scary than trying to hear everything perfectly.
Exactly. And if you want a super short example, here's one. So I meet Mia Thursday, right?
Then I pick up on the time, lock it in, and move on.
That's the natural rhythm. Short, clear, useful.
And much better than the old strategy of smiling and praying.
We've all done that.
Now you've got 5 phrases that actually help in real conversations.
Keep listening for them in the story, and try them in your own conversations this week.
A small phrase at the right moment can save a whole conversation.
So today's core idea is simple. Fast English isn't about hearing every word. It's about catching the gist, noticing the key detail, and locking in the facts before you move on.
Right, and that shift matters because it turns panic into action. You stop chasing the sentence and start using it.
Here are 3 quick moves to try this week. First, listen for the task word. Second, notice numbers, places, and changes. Third, say one short confirmation out loud.
For example, so I should meet you at 6, right? Or you want the back entrance, yes? Short is powerful.
My own little lesson from this episode is that I used to feel embarrassed when I missed a detail. and then I mentally spiral for the rest of the conversation.
That spiral is exhausting, but once you treat listening like a skill instead of a test, the pressure drops fast.
And that's why I love this topic. It helps real people in real situations, not just classroom exercises.
If you're in a taxi, a cafe, or a quick work chat, you don't need perfection. You need a next step.
So this week, try the just first habit. Then practice one lock-in question after every fast message.
And if the speaker gives you a long explanation, don't freeze. Just break it into pieces and piece it together.
That one shift can make conversations feel way less scary.
And the more you do it, the more natural it sounds.
Before you go, we want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments what kind of fast English makes you miss the most important detail.
We read every single comment. Thanks for listening, and next time we'll keep building your real-life English confidence.
Thanks for spending this time with us.
See you next time.